Today we're going to look at graphing two linear inequalities on the same graph. So let's start with y is less than negative 4x plus 3. And before we even graph, let's think about what type of line we're going to draw. So when we have a less than, we are going to draw a dashed line. And then let's think where we're going to shade. If it's less than, we shade below. When we graph y is greater than x minus 2, again, we're going to have a dashed line. And greater than would be above the line. So let's go back and let's graph the first one. So it's already in our y equals mx plus b form. And so we're going to start with the y-intercept. So our y-intercept is 3. And then our slope is negative 4 over 1. So we go down 4 to the right 1. Down 4 to the right 1. And then go back and do the opposite. Go up 4 to the left 1. And like we said, it's going to be a dashed line. So draw your dashed line. And then we're going to shade below. So what I like to do is I put my pencil on the y-intercept and I go below it. So below it is in this area, it's down here. And so I'm going to draw these little arrows to tell me to shade below the line. But I'm not going to shade yet. I'm going to go back and draw the other line. So here our y-intercept is negative 2. And now, when there's no number in front of x, it's a 1, so our slope's going to be up 1 over 1. So now we go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and then down 1, back 1. Alright, again, since it's just a greater than, it doesn't have a line underneath it, so we draw a dashed line. And then since it's greater than, we're going to shade above. So again, I put my pencil on the y-intercept and I go above it. So I'm going to be shading up here. Again, we're not going to shade yet. So the reason we draw the arrows is because we want to see where do the two arrows cross. So now to figure out where they cross, just take the arrows and extend them. So you can see they cross over here, but if I extend this arrow, it doesn't cross. So I'm not going to shade that area. I'm only going to shade the region where they cross. So what this means is any point that I select that's in the shaded region, so if I were to pick this point right here, negative 7, positive 3, and I were to plug that back into my equations, it would be a solution. Any point outside the shaded region would not be a solution. Alright, let's look at our next example. So as we think about this one, it's a greater than, so it's going to be a dashed line. Greater than means we're going to shade above the line. The second equation is a greater than or equal to. So now this is a solid line. So when it has a line, you draw a line. You draw a solid line. And this is also greater than. So this one will also be shaded above the line. So let's go ahead and graph them. So we start on positive 1. Our slope is up 2 over 1. Continue to the left a little bit. Now let's draw our line. Remember, when you draw it, it's going to be dashed. And then it was greater than, so if you put your point or your pencil on the y-intercept, greater than will be above it. So we're going to be shading this way. Now let's graph our other one. So remember, when it's just y and a number, it's a horizontal line that touches at -3. So we go down to -3, and we draw our horizontal line. And since it has a line underneath, we draw a solid line. And it's greater than, so we go above. So now we extend our lines. We will shade only where they overlap. So you can see it's overlapping here, doesn't overlap here, but then it starts to overlap here. So that'll be this region. So that would be the graph of the two inequalities. Alright, this will be our last example. And so as you look at this example, you should notice that neither of these equations are in slope-intercept form. So that means we're going to have to solve each of them for y. And so now would be a good time to pause the video, try to solve it for y, and then see if we agree. So to solve the first one for y, that means I want my goal to be to have y on the left and everything else on the right. So to do that, I need to get rid of this x. So I minus x from both sides. So the x's go away on the left, and I get -2y is less than -x minus 2. And so it's important that you bring down that minus. Now to get rid of this -2, I divide each and everything by -2. So that's going to give me a -2 divided by -2 is just going to give me the positive y. So this is like having a 1 here. So a negative divided by negative is a positive 1/2 x. And then negative divided by negative is a positive 1. And so you have to remember, we're going to put a little star on this step. When you divide by a negative, you have to reverse or flip your inequality. So our less than is going to turn into a greater than sign. So our answer is y is greater than 1/2 x plus 1. Now let's look at the other example. We got to move this 5x to the other side. So we minus 5x. So this goes away, and we get -2y is greater than -5x plus 6. Divide everything by -2. So we get a positive y, a positive 5/2 x, and then a positive divided by a negative gives us a -3. Again, whenever we divide by a negative, this symbol is going to be reversed. So now our greater than becomes a less than. So these are the two equations that we're going to graph. So let's start with this first one. It's a greater than, so we know we're going to have a dashed line. And since it's greater than, we'll be shading above the line. This one is just a less than, so it will have a dashed line also. But less than means we'll be shading below this line. So now, pause the video, graph these two, and let's see if we agree. So let's take this 1, put it on our y-intercept, And now our slope here is 1 over 2. So we go up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the left 2, the more dots you draw, the better your line will look. So remember, we're going to draw a dashed line. And it's greater than, so we'll be shading above the y-intercept, so up in this area. We just draw some arrows to remind us. Now let's graph the other line. We have a -3 as our y-intercept. Our slope is 5 over 2, so we're going to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 2, up 5, over 2, down 5, to the left 2, and this was a dashed line. And it was a less than, so we'll be shading below the y-intercept. So in this side, we draw the arrows, and we want to see where the arrows cross. So in this one, you can see the arrows are going to cross in this little region right here, and so that's what your graph should look like.